Sorry.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. As always, really appreciate you guys watching. Those of you who joined during the live event and in the comments, I always appreciate that. Tonight we're gonna go over the NFL combines this week. It feels like I know we were kind of chatting in our DMs. It feels like it happens sooner. Like it's always kind of like the end of February, but it feels like it's a lot closer to the Super Bowl than I usually remembered. Kind of snuck up on us this year, but we also got some actual NFL news this week, which was kind of exciting with different guys signing contracts and some franchise tags being applied. But first, I have a surprise trade that I wanted to do live on the show, and so this doesn't get to happen very often. So, Holler, you're not in this league with me, and the league there's not a lot of Discord members, and I think there's like one other guy in the league that's in the Discord. So it didn't make it there at all, right? And so you have yet to see this one, so I want to get your
Let's
live
go.
reaction to it. I'm not going to tell you what side I did. I just want to get your raw reaction. All right, so it's a 12 team. It's pretty standard scoring. It's like 1.75 tight end premium, start 3 wide receivers, pretty basic scoring, right? Side 1 got Jamar Chase. Side 2 got Oronde Gadsden, the 104 and the 112.
Whoa. Can you run through it one more time for me?
I can. Here, I'll put it in the chat too. So we got Chase for Gadsden, the 104 and 112.
I'm not going to know any details I'm not going to even ask. I'm going to go with the package, right?
Okay.
I feel like let's just kind of put some players, like I don't really love the 112, right? But let's just, take it for what it is, right? 104, I'm probably going to get myself, one of these 3 players that I feel good about. So you're going to get Tate, you're going to get Mendoza, or you're going to get
Mekhi Lemon.
Thank you, Mekhi Lemon. Or if you like Tyson more, that's your preference. So one of those 4 you're going to get right at 104. I really like Gadsden. I liked him, coming out, and he excelled, right? And if you think about how Mike McDaniel uses Gadsden, the tight end, excuse me, I think he's going to be used a lot still, right? And then throw in either, especially if you're going to get Mendoza at the 104. I don't think you will, but if you would, there's another plus there. And then that 112, maybe you can move that 112 for, let's say, a veteran quarterback, right? Because like I said, I have no idea where these teams are. Then that's kind of why I want the pieces, right? Or the package. Greg in the chat says Chase for me, right? I was kind of like, I don't, but we saw how much.
Even.
Yeah, I think it's very even. And what I was going to say is like, I feel like we saw the fall off of Justin Jefferson, and it's not necessarily his fault. And we know like how much Joe Burrow injury issues and things like that. I'm not going to hold that against Jamar Chase, right? But I just think there's always that little reminder in the back of my head. It's like, okay, right? Any player can fall, right? But let me just get that package that maybe I can turn that around to even more pieces.
Totally fair. I got the package side. For context, this guy has been sending me trade offers for Jamar Chase for the better part of like 5 months, and I just kept declining without countering. And then finally got an offer I liked. I like Gadsden quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
This particular roster was good during the startup, and we're about 4 years in now, and it started to transition into not good. And so trying to get basically rebuild, kind of a soft rebuild, right? So my tight end room in particular, it had Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, so it could definitely use a bit of an upgrade. I like Gadsden there, and my thought too at the 104, I was like, I'll probably get Lemon or Tate there. So it's not saying they're Jamar Chase, but that compared with Gadsden and the 112. And the 112, it might be fluid, right? Might be able to move it. We'll see. But yeah, that's where I was at. So we kind of thought the same way. I think it's fairly even both ways, but
Yeah.
It didn't
Actually,
immediately blow up the chat, but so
before
I
you
figured it was
even
pretty
said,
even.
yeah, before you even said weren't gonna tell me which side, I probably was gonna. I was gonna say you probably went with the package. We think very similar, but I can see either way, right? Like I said, Greg in the chat was very quick with like, no, I'll take, I'll take Chase, and then
Sure.
Wes says like he'd think about it if it was two tight end, So I don't know. I mean, I think it's more of like a coin flip. Just depends on your team a little bit, but I think the value that is there, right? Good for both.
I
I
think so
think
too.
three first for Chase, and then uh, three first getting
That
back.
was my thought. I mean, and frankly, the 104s, you could maybe say it's about 1.5 first,
Yeah,
really. And so I don't know. I felt pretty good about it. I thought it was fair value, and it's hard to get guys to pay up for some of those elite talents. So I thought, gives me some extra depth, and yeah, we'll see what happens. That team was on the decline, so I need some fresh
oh yeah.
talent.
It's not fun moving a top player, but that's good value for Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's fun to roster Jamar Chase, but sometimes I don't know. You got to make tough calls, and I felt like I'm gonna do what's best for the team. To
Oh yeah.
quote draft day, and yeah, if you can flip the like Wes said in the chat, if you can flip the 112 into something useful, which I think you can, I think you will feel better about it, just like in terms of like pure value.
Yep.
All right. So some actual NFL news happened this week. There's some franchise tags, but also Javonte Williams signed a new deal in Dallas. I think it was a 3-year deal, $24 million, so about $8 million a year, which is a pretty significant deal. I feel like that kind of, I'm not sure where you have him, but that kind of helped like boost him up a little bit more for me, just knowing that like he's going to stay in Dallas in a good situation. We know he's going to like, we don't have to worry about him going to somewhere new. Like we've seen him in this offense. He should still be good. I thought he played very well. I think it was probably his best year since he's been hurt kind of early on in his career in Denver. So did this move him at all for you? Does this make you want to go out and acquire Javonte Williams? Do you just feel better about him if you roster him? Are you trying to sell him now that he's, he got the new contract?
Yeah. So probably kind of just solidifies where he was, right? Like had a really good year. Probably in my ranking, he's somewhere in that like 14 to 18 range. So firm, RB2, and that's just I think what you'll get out of him. I would probably hold until I can kind of see, maybe he comes out hot, and then I would be like, all right, I'm going to sell at that point. But I think, if you're thinking about now that he got the contract and you were going to be like, okay, maybe I'll trade him, then I think you should continue with that, right? Because I wouldn't say to, hold on to, oh, he might end up being really good and then trade him, right? So you don't know. You got to trade him on like he's probably on the highest value. He probably got, bumped up a little bit. And like I said, people are like, okay, now that guy, I feel pretty good about him being an RB2 in my lineup. Maybe I'll go out and acquire him now, right? For me, I'm not acquiring. If I have him, I'm holding. I just think after the contract, that price probably went up a little bit if people are going to sell. So I don't think it's a good time to buy. But it was like Greg said in the chat, really good news. Like I think him going back to Dallas was the best situation. Because we knew he played well there. They used him well. So not really any coaching shake up there. So like for me, slide him right back in there. And I think we're going to get about the same or even maybe a little bit better next year. Cause I think the offense will be even better, right?
Yeah, it should at least be
the same, at least.
Same.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't really want to go out and acquire Javonte right now. Luckily I got a bunch from last year. I think we actually talked about him on a show, and I was like, if we throw out a late 2, which sounds crazy now, but like back, last offseason, if you threw a late 2 at him, he could be yours pretty easily. And I moved him for that a couple places, and it's one of the rare ones where it works out. I need to go back and find that clip of us talking about it, because we're gonna sound like geniuses now, which doesn't always happen. But
I'm trying to remember when he actually like signed with Cowboys. Okay, so it was in March. So it was after the combine. So I'm sure we talked about him around this time, right? Like, as we compare between incoming, rookies, and so yeah. I mean, if you count like bought him at that time, and yeah, hold on to him because that was you bought him at the lowest, and now you're gonna like have to buy him on the highest value. So kind of what people said in the chat, like if you have him, I would just hold, right? I don't think you're going to obtain much more. So
Yeah, like Wes said, it's the first time for everything. It's like,
oh
hey,
yeah,
even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
yep.
Some franchise tag. Kyle Pitts actually did get the franchise tag, and so he'll be back in Atlanta. I was pretty excited about this one. Kevin Stefanski comes to Atlanta, coming from Cleveland, where the tight end has been heavily featured. I know there was some talk about whether or not that was due to the lack of wide receivers in Cleveland. My thought was, is the situation in Atlanta that much better? Obviously, Drake London's great, but like, what do they have outside of that? I mean, they were rolling. I mean, Kadarius Hodge, who just, I guess he got released now, but like Ray McLeod was out there. They had
The Moon Man,
obviously
come
Darnell
on.
Mooney, but like Mooney's whatever, dude. Like
Yeah, no.
they need some help. They don't exactly have a great wide receiver room either. So I think there's going to be plenty of room for Kyle Pitts to be awesome in this offense.
I feel like it'd be really cool for them to have like a first round pick, to get themselves like a wide receiver 2 or something.
Wow.
But they
At least,
gifted it to the Rams, so I'll take it. But
at
yeah,
least
no,
they have
I'm
a great player who's not in jail with their first round pick. Oops, they didn't do that either.
But no, I agree 100%. Like Kyle Pitts going back there is best scenario right now, as long as they don't sign another tight end, because typically Stefanski has. I don't know if it's necessarily his, like doing, but that's just if we can successfully get through they don't sign another like John U. Smith or somebody that's just going to be a thorn in the side, then I'll be stoked about it, right? But I do know that like that's he's probably option number 3 at least, right? So obviously option number 1 is going to be either London or Bijan, right? And then option number 3 would be, I think, Kyle Pitts. And also at the end of the last year, he played really well. I know that was with Kirk Cousins. I'm not certain he'll be back with Atlanta. But I think
released.
Yes, exactly. So I think Penix is fine enough to make Pitts and London and Bijan, fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I think so too. I was just trying to look through some trades on Fantasy Calc for Kyle Pitts recently. One was Kyle Pitts for the 112 and the 304. I like Kyle Pitts there pretty easily. One was Kyle Pitts for Tucker Kraft straight up. That one was a little interesting to me. I don't know if I'm quite
That's
there
weird.
with Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
I think I still prefer Kraft. I think maybe the thought there is that Kraft coming back off the ACL might not be quite what we thought. Then there's a lot where Pitts is like in the giant package, so it's kind of hard to tell the exact value. But
Yeah.
I think maybe around that late one, if you can get him for that, maybe throw in a second even. Like I think I would do that for Kyle Pitts. I think he's a really good player. I think he finally started to become. I think the part of the problem is that like I think he's always been pretty good. Part of the problem is that like when he was drafted, where he was is like like the 4th, 5th, 6th overall pick, wherever it was.
Yes.
The expectations were just like sky high, and people just thought he was just going to be like this insane tight end in the NFL. And it took him a little bit, right? Like he had a couple, I think he went over 1,000 yards his first year. The touchdowns weren't quite there, and then he battled through some injuries. I just think like maybe we just had over like too high of expectations for him, but he's actually been, if you just look at what he's done for his first 4 years in the league, like he's been very good. I think we maybe wanted more because we're greedy.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And I think a lot of it is he hasn't had the touchdowns, right? The numbers have been kind of up and down a little bit, but I think the touchdowns obviously are what really boost their points, of course. But like I think without them, if you just look at his numbers, like he's been, like you said, very, very good, right? So
awesome.
And I think they're starting to use him a bit better, right? Obviously, now we have a new like coaching staff, so I think they're going to actually use him even better, right? So, yeah, I think we got to see a little bit last year, right at the end of the season. So I think that's going to be more of the Kyle Pitts. I think before last year's coaching staff and prior to that, like they just didn't use him properly.
Yeah, I think so too. They tried to ask him to do a lot of blocking and stuff that he wasn't necessarily good at.
Yeah.
And using him less as a receiver, which is where he's kind of his bag. So that's good news. Some not good news. It sounds like Brees Hall is going to get the
I'm
franchise
out.
tag, and he's just stuck in New York, which is so sad. Like, I don't understand this. It doesn't make any sense. Like, seems like he was pretty disgruntled during the
Yeah.
season. He was almost traded at the trade deadline. They couldn't quite agree on compensation for him. And then he just said like he wants out, and the Jets said, "Nah, you're gonna stick around." And it makes no sense, right? It doesn't make sense. Like, usually you're just like wasting like a Ferrari in like a trailer park is what this feels like, which is just
Oh
like
yeah.
I don't get it, dude. Like,
Yeah.
and this sucks
Brees
for
Hall.
his fantasy output. He's not gonna
Oh yeah.
have. He doesn't have. He's done put up incredible numbers without ever playing with like a good quarterback. I know he had the Aaron Rodgers year, but like, and what are they going to do at quarterback this year? It's such a mystery. Uh, Maybe it'll be fine. Like, the offensive line's okay. There's now not really a threat of a passing game. It feels like we're just wasting his talent, and I'm sad about it.
Absolutely. I just feel like a player like Brees Hall. Maybe it's just because I wish he was going to a good team or whatever. But like, it's kind of like the cherry on top, right? You don't. I don't know. To me, it just feels like they're building the wrong way, right? And
Hmm.
like you already said, is like you add this player to kind of put you over the top a little bit, right? So
Exactly.
it just it doesn't make any sense to me as well, right? And like I would love to know why teams do this. I think obviously they have the ability to do it and they know the player's good, so they're like, all right, cool, we're just gonna tag you, whatever. But to me, it just doesn't seem like it's a good outcome for anybody. But in terms of fantasy, I'm right there with you. Like I said at the beginning, I think I'm out on Brees Hall now. I know I didn't have much just because
See,
like
I have
probably
quite a
since
few.
well, I used to have a lot, unfortunately, but I think after year two, I kind of started to phase out as I could. And I it's just a bummer, right? I
Smart.
remember when he was coming out and he was outstanding, and then his first year was outstanding, and then just being on the Jets happened. So
Hmm.
for me, like I said, I'm out on him. If I don't already have him, or yeah, if I don't already have him, I'm not acquiring anymore. I don't know if I'll go out and try to trade him either because I think the general consensus is like I think most people are out, right?
It's what it seems like. I pulled up some of his recent trades, and like a couple of them were Brees Hall for Chase Brown and 26 second, Brees Hall for Marvin Harrison Jr. and Isaiah Pacheco, Brees Hall for a 27 first and a 26 third. I would probably do that. I'd probably cash out on the first.
Yeah.
My team's not competing, but that just his value's quite depressed. And trying to see, I have
I'm
7 shares of him, so not quite as much as I thought, but still
experiment.
not
Would you
ideal.
take a
Yeah.
20? Would you take a 27 first for him?
Straight up.
Yes.
Is it like just like a random 27 first? Like, it could be
Let's
legit
do
kind of
random
anywhere.
because I always try to put in my own brain of like, okay, what do I think it's going to be? I mean, obviously you can kind of
Yeah, I
project, but
probably
you never
would.
know. So yeah, that's where I'm at too. If I have any shares, I might go send out some offers of
'Cause
27 first.
yeah, because I
I
I
mean,
mean,
it may feel like you're selling low, but I don't know. I just don't think I just think it's such a
see.
mess in with the Jets.
Oh, it was horrible, and like, let me see. Where was he in points per game last year? It wasn't that great, I don't think.
I like
Um,
this idea by Wes, right? I mean, if you're looking to just acquire or to flip, I do think there will be a sell window that goes back up a little bit when like exactly what Wes is saying here is like
yeah.
when people realize they shouldn't if they're going to tag him, they probably will because that's just what they are, but who they are. They shouldn't draft a running back, but you never know. But that's kind of what that's the exact thing we would want to do, right? So yeah, I don't know if I actually would pull the trigger or if I actually will go and send some of these out, but like
He's
Greg says, he's not certain if you would trade him for a 27 first straight up, right? Which I get. There's like
it's
I don't know.
Here's the thing though, like, so he was running back 21 last year. Is the offense gonna be any better this year? Is that kind of, and he played 16 games. That was just pure total, right? Like, Is the offense going to be better? Maybe he can score some more touchdowns if he breaks some, but like it's probably going to be about the same. So if you're cashing out on 27 first for basically an RB2, right? And like the thing too with the franchise tag is like we could talk ourselves into, okay, they tag him, he's on the Jets again in 2026. They can tag him. You can tag someone twice, so they could do it again and keep him in 2027. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now I have 2 more years of him. Then he starts getting a little bit older.
It can be worse.
He's so much better. He's so much better than a 27 first, like as like a talent, but it's just like, man, he's just in a crappy situation, and I don't foresee it getting better. And I feel like the Jets are one of those teams that I feel like I never want to like predict that a team is going to suck, but I mean, I feel pretty confident. We have a pretty good history of the Jets track record here the last couple decades.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, dude. Which is sad because I like Breece Hall, but
yeah, unfortunately, I think we'll see. Like I said, I don't know if I would actually pull the trigger. But I'll definitely take a look.
It depends on the team, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Just a couple more receivers that are being talked about getting the franchise tag. George Pickens, I think that one's pretty likely to happen. But then Alec Pierce is the name I heard recently too, that the Colts are going to pony up the franchise tag to keep him around, which is crazy because the franchise tag for a wide receiver is like $28 million a year. And Alec Pierce, like George Pickens, I feel like I can stomach that one, but Alec Pierce doesn't.
It's insane.
It seems crazy, right? Like it seems like
even
the
if you
NFL
were
thinks way higher of him than maybe we do as fantasy players.
Yeah,
I just don't understand it.
That doesn't make sense, especially now. Like if you think about the Tutu Atwell signing, that seems cheap. Like that's and so I think that's what it is. Like the baseline for wide receivers is so much higher, which is sad. But yeah, I mean it's probably fine if Alec Pierce goes back to the Colts, but we don't know who's going to be the starter right in the beginning of the season. I think it would have been better for Alec Pierce if he was to go somewhere else, and then also it would have been better for Josh Downs. So like what Greg said, like that's a big surprise to me. That seems like a lot of money for a mediocre player.
Yeah, it feels odd. Like I kind of was already kind of writing him as going to the Patriots and playing with Drake May, and I was kind of like thinking, this
that would have been really good actually.
But nope. Plans got foiled again by the franchise tag. We'll see what happens. That's just something they've talked about. Maybe they don't, right? Maybe they just say, hey, maybe it's not worth it. But maybe they sign a deal with him too. I think he would have better fantasy value outside of Indianapolis.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Like, especially you just talked about the Patriots, like that would be awesome. Like, I think he would be fantasy relevant for sure. I mean, he was last year with, being a wide receiver 2/2A, 2B, right? So,
Yeah, he was solid last year. And then with George Pickens too, I think you and I both have sold him recently for like 103, 104. We got a couple deals done, which I think is the move here with Pickens. I think he's too much of a head case where maybe he'll be on his behavior again for one more year. But as soon as I feel like he's just one of those guys that as soon as he gets a big contract, it might be over.
We don't need beat a dead horse, but that's kind of why both of us went out and tried to trade, right? We if I can get anywhere from 103 to 105, because I've got basically 5 players that I feel good about. There should be 6, but a lot of question marks with Tyson. And so if I can get 103 to 105 for George Pickens, like I'm doing that all day. And if I don't have many shares anymore, and there was a couple that the people just said no on all one league. I think you had 104 and I tried 103 and 105 and no luck. Right. And so I'll just keep Pickens. Right. And then maybe try to move him later on, or even during the draft, you might be able to do it. Right.
For sure. All right. NFL Combine. This is what we're here to talk about. So here's the schedule just in terms of, so tomorrow we actually get some on the field stuff. There's some of the players have been there. They're doing like interviews and stuff throughout the day, which is fine. I would say that the interview process that we don't get access to with the teams is probably the most valuable thing that happens at the combine, but it is what it is. The tight ends on Friday are going to run and do drills. And then Saturday is kind of the big day for fantasy, right? The quarterbacks are throwing, the receivers and the running backs are doing all their drills. So Saturday is probably the day you're going to want to tune in. Friday night and
That's
Saturday.
for Gordon.
Yeah, Fridays for Gordon. Exactly. The 2 tight end fiend. I think the tight ends, they run the gauntlet though, too. So a little bit for you. And then the
Yes, they do.
too on Saturday. So
that's where I kind of found the Gadsden last year. Is like we talked about it before, and then like he followed it up with a really good gauntlet. And like just watching some other tight ends do it, you're like, nah, this guy definitely is not going to be fantasy relevant. The guy can't even catch a ball, right? But they might be excellent at blocking. So, but no, I'm stoked that we've got some kind of football back. It's already back.
Yes, it is back. That's where I think sometimes fantasy players need to do a better job, myself included, of like when you see some of these players get drafted like high, like in like the second round, like maybe it's a tight end, but they're just like primarily a blocker. It's like, okay, we got to know like maybe the production profile wasn't there. They got the draft capital, but like that might be like a red herring, so to speak, right? Like it's like follow what you've seen on tape, not necessarily what happens. And sometimes the combine, like we saw this last year, Matthew Golden ran just hella fast. I was looking the other day and he was pretty low on Matthew. I knew that was happening with Wes. On Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 list. And then after he ran that 4.2940, everyone starts talking. And next thing you know, he's like at the top 20 in DJ's top 50 list. And it's like, okay, let's pump the brakes here. And that was the one thing I told myself going into the combine this year. I'm not going to move guys up just because they run fast and they look good running around in tights, right? So I just redid my top rookie board, my top 48 players I have ranked. And I told myself I'm not going to move anybody just because they run a super fast 40 time. So I'm going to need you to hold me to that. And not let me get obsessed with it. So what drills do matter? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say is that like, I think the biggest thing is we noticed that the NFL overvalues speed. I feel like it doesn't always translate to being a really good, NFL player or fantasy player, I should say. So like, yeah, you can move players a little bit up and down, right? After the combine. I haven't had an update in a while, so I'm going to do it after Sunday. So I just think you can find, I'm more like, I like the gauntlet more because I can find some of those, diamonds in the rough a little bit. It's just another, like we've talked about before, another piece of the puzzle, right? So really, I think we all do it, right? It's like, oh, wow, this guy's really fast. And then he gets hype. Oh, he might go in the first round. It's like, I can't pass over this guy that went in the first round. So, I mean, it happens every year, but I'm with you as well. I'm going to hold to like not, moving players up and down too much after the combine.
And I think an example too. So talking about what drills matter and don't, I think the 40-yard dash gets the most attention, but arguably I feel like it's the one that it impacts where players get drafted more than it impacts how good a player actually is. And I was just kind of looking at some of the running backs from last year, some of the times like Jadon Blue. I remember he didn't have a very good production profile, and he ran a 4.38 40 time. And then all of a sudden, everybody was talking about, oh my God, Jadon Blue is going to be the guy. He's going to be whatever. He's going to take over for the Cowboys, and yada yada yada. I don't think he was on the active 53-man roster even a single time last year, right? So like, just because a guy runs fast doesn't mean they're going to be good. And the converse of that is true too. Like Bucky Irving, I remember he was being talked about as like a day 2 running back. He ran pretty slow, and then he dropped to day 3, and he fell down draft boards too. Like that doesn't change anything about who the player is just because they maybe run or don't run fast. I will say the gauntlet, which you've talked about. Can you tell us a little bit about what do you look for when you watch the gauntlet? You're the gauntlet wizard.
Yeah.
This is your time to shine.
It's taken a couple of years of watching it now, but if you watch, there's going to be a line that they draw underneath their feet. And basically what they're looking for is for them to not like go off of their line, right? It's kind of how a wide receiver, tight end, whatever, right? How their routes are run, right? Do they stay on their route? Do they stay on? Do they follow the ball, right? And so if you're on the gauntlet, the ball is continually going at them, and as long as they're not moving, like waving up and down, or not up and down, side to side, then you got a good gauntlet. So you can see sometimes like they get you a speed as well. Like if it's slow but straight, that's not good, obviously. But like Gadsden's was like a straight line. It was really it's super cool to see, and that's kind of why I've gotten into it a little bit. It's just because it's an interesting like drill, and to me, I feel like it's translated pretty well.
Okay, nice. The other thing is the vertical jump. I think actually is pretty useful for tight ends and wide receivers, just in that they are. I mean, for jump balls especially, right? Seeing how kind of
Yeah.
explosive they are. I think that actually does translate, and then also for running backs, they don't all run it, and this is part of the problem too. It's hard because so many guys opt out and don't always run, but like the three cone and the short shuttle kind of shows a little bit more like acceleration and like quickness than just like a straight line speed. And I think that's so much more valuable for the running backs to see how they move versus just like, can you run fast in a straight line? Which,
Yeah.
and honestly, it's, what's stupid about that too? Like the 40-yard dash, like they get down in like a sprinter stance. When the hell do they ever
Yeah, they
do
don't
that
do
on a
that at
football
all. Yeah.
field? They don't, they never, right? Like
And so
they're always
like
standing up. So it doesn't make any sense.
that's why for me, like I don't know, the 40-yard dash is pointless, but the gauntlet, right? You got to go fast and you're catching the ball, right? So a couple components I
Mhm.
like missed that are probably more
And
important
where
is like
you are
that.
in the field too, like,
Exactly. Like so it's more like hand-eye coordination, and then basically um your body control, right? And so like basically they're tracking how fast you're going and how well you can react to that football, right? And so when you're running routes, that's quite important.
absolutely. All right, so potential risers and fallers, and this is a little bit subjective. One name I wanted to mention on the faller list before we get into it, Jordan Tyson isn't participating in any combine drills. I've already had kind of expressed my red flags and my concerns for Jordan Tyson. The reason he said he's not competing is he's still rehabbing his hamstring injury that he suffered during the season. That was like 5 months ago. Um,
Yeah, because
that is
I think he's
so concerning, dude. Like that's not okay. And I maybe am I overreacting to the point where I was already kind of like iffy on him, and now like hearing that, I'm like, I don't know if I want to touch this guy. Like that scares me. If he's still kind of rehabbing a hamstring, and maybe it's just like oh, my hamstring's a little tight, and he just didn't want to participate, and it is what it is, right? That's fine. But just say that. Don't. I don't know. It's made me real nervous when I heard that. What were your thoughts?
spot on, right? There were injury concerns when we talked about, or not really talk about him too much because we knew he was coming back, but like last year going into this,
Mhm.
off season and thinking about players, and like I kind of bought in a few shares in like Devi and things like that, and I wish I would have kept to my intuition, and like he did not change anything this year, right? He got injured again. Now you're showing his rehab is not clearly not great if it's a 5-month thing that you're trying to repair, right? So I don't trust that that's why he's not running, right? I think part of it is like the dude just gets injured, right? So he's like, I'm
Mhm.
not going to do anything. I don't want to get injured again. And so for me, that's I'm that's a huge red flag, right? But kind of where I'm at with the rankings and stuff, he probably is not going to go too much lower for like 105, 106 for me. If Sadiq like gets drafted in the first round, I will put him over Sadiq. I'll put Sadiq
Oh,
over Tyson,
okay.
right?
That's what I was gonna ask you.
Yeah,
Was that I just did that in my recent ranking update. It's I put Sadiq at 5, and then I have a tier break, and then I have Tyson at 6.
yeah.
Um, I was gonna ask you if that was crazy, but it sounds like maybe we're on the same page
No, I
there.
mean, I'm not going to. It's going to look like I made a change after the combine with that, but yeah, I'm at the point where I'm moving Sadiq over Tyson, right? And that's my top 5 players right there, and then the tier break, and then boom, 1 through 105. Like that's why I said after 105, I'll probably just
Mhm.
keep George Pickens. I don't really want 106. I might be nitpicking there. I probably would take that 106, but Because more, but like other people will rise, and maybe things will shake out with Tyson. He has a pro day, whatever, but the red flags are
Yeah.
there, and he is not they're not going away. They're popping back up.
And I feel like too, and maybe it's much to do about nothing. We're just kind of, you know, talking to talk about something. But like, if if he doesn't compete at a pro day too, then I think there's really like a red
Oh
flag there. I think
yes.
he can legitimately start dropping down draft boards. I think it's going to be a conversation piece, and it's one of those things where I feel like he could have very easily put that to bed just by going out here and competing. But now he's still rehabbing a hamstring injury. It just raises red flags. And I feel like if I was an NFL team, and teams are going to think this way, is that like, well, why don't I just draft Cardinal Tate or Makai Lemon? And some teams really like Denzel Boston. I'm not that big of a fan of him, but like at least he's on the field. You know what I mean? Like with Jordan Tyson, like the range of outcomes is so wide, but I'm to a point where I feel like I'm just gonna let someone else deal with it and see if he's good or not. If I miss out on it, so be it. But like, there's just the red
I've seen
flags are just too much to ignore.
Yeah. And instead of them, like, the flags coming down, his flags are flying back way up again, right? And they're
Hmm.
just like he's putting his stamp on, this is kind of who I am. Injury ridden, right? Injury in 2022,
Yeah,
injury in 2024, and then again injury here, right? And now he's been out since October. Like
yeah.
that's a long time.
It's a long time. It's a pretty much every season he's played, he's gotten banged up,
Yeah.
which and it happens. And it just seems like, and obviously you can't predict injuries, but like, man, does he just with him? I feel like we're pushing it. We're really testing that theory if you can protect an injury or not.
Yeah.
Um, Shifting back to a more positive side, the guy I have pictured here, he's probably a lesser known guy, but Brennan Thompson on the left there, he's a wide receiver from Mississippi State.
Yep.
Everything I've heard, he's got a legit shot to break the NFL Combine record for the 40-yard dash. If he does, I can see. I've already kind of seen him on like the NFL mock draft database. You know, initially he was kind of in the 7th round, and he started creeping up, getting close to the Combine. I've seen him as high as going in the 4th round now. If he breaks the speed record, he might sneak into a day 2 pick. Like I think people are. This is like this year's Matthew Golden, right? Just don't do it. Like the production profile was in the below average tier, which is basically bottom like 30%. So not ideal. He's very fast. He might be. I don't know if he can return kicks. Maybe he has some value there, but I don't want nothing to do with him as a wide receiver. But I think he's gonna rise up draft boards because he's gonna run really fast, and people are gonna be like, "Holy cow, I need that speed on my team."
Yeah. I mean, I used to love it. You have him on the show, but like I used to love Barian Brown, right? And he
Uh-huh.
was like a
Yeah.
coveted Devi guy, right? Top of the rankings, I think coming out of school, and
Mhm.
he just fell flat, right? But he'll run fast. But
Yeah.
like I have him on a couple of Devi teams, and I'm like, why did I even draft this guy? That's the funnest thing about Devi. The guys fall flat all the time. So, but yeah, like these guys that are just fast runners, like, man, I think we all get like excited about it, but they don't pan out, right? And I don't really think Brennan Thompson did much at all, right? Not I don't think I know he didn't do much at all, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to be the at most a returner, right? He's going to get overdrafted, so stay away from
Just
that
look,
landmine.
he actually didn't return any kicks in college. So he
All
doesn't
right,
even do that.
yeah,
So that's exciting. He did have a 1,000-yard season this last year, so there's that. So he beat Matthew Golden in that particular stat. Barry and Brown, I will say, since you brought him up, he's actually like a really good return guy. So if you
yes,
play in any kind of league that has return yardage, he might have some value there, like in the 3rd round of just like a you hopefully you don't have to play him as like a true receiver, but he might be able to return a kick or two for you, kind of like a Chimere DK.
both these two guys made me think of that. Chimere DK, and I was gonna say, well, at least he had a really good season because of all the return. So I don't want to
Mhm.
put I don't want to put DK down that way, right? These guys might not even do that.
Totally fair. Omar Cooper is another guy that I wanted to bring up as a potential riser. I already saw just so for those of you who may not know, he is the other wide receiver out of Indiana besides Elijah Surratt. And I don't even know if calling him the other wide receiver is right at this point. At this point, Surratt might be the other receiver out of Indiana. Omar Cooper has been flying up draft boards. I looked. So Daniel Jeremiah did his top 50 list just yesterday, I want to say, and he went from being unranked to 19th. So a
Insane.
potential first round guy. They said today too he got 19 team interviews at the NFL Combine today. And originally I was thinking to myself, like, oh, he's going to be sweet. Like the Raiders are going to take him at 36 to pair him with Mendoza. I don't think he makes out of the first round at this point. What are your thoughts about Omar Cooper? Have you seen him too much, or are you still kind of trying to figure out who he is, or what are your thoughts there?
So I think what's like blowing up about it is he had the last 2 years were really good, right? But what you have to think about is like the new landscape of transfers and things like that. I just don't know if he can be like a wide receiver one, which he's getting kind of right. Like he's rising up to be that. Like to me, he's a great guy to be like a secondary guy. I don't even want to use these guys as examples, but like a T Higgins, a Devontae Smith, like that's the type of guy I think at best he can be. So I just don't see it in the first round, but like once we get out of those top 2-3 wide receivers, there's a lot of question marks, right? There's guys I like, but somebody like this could rise up. And so for me, I just need to do a little more, look into, but I've seen him quite a bit mocked to the Raiders, like you said, but that would be the best situation, I think. But there's things that he can do really well, right? I think like he's a big body, big play guy. I think obviously yards per catch are high, right? And that's really, really good, right? And so, man. And then also I think he had a really good game in the national championship, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah. And so
like 5 catches, like 70 yards.
Yeah, that's okay. So like that's usually players get hyped like that. Yeah. And I think once the dust settles a little bit, he may not get drafted as high as we think. Like with that many, interviews and things like that, though, I don't know. So I think we're just a little too much hype. I think the things are there, but for me, at the end of the day, like a lot of these guys are just going to be landing spot for me this year. If the situation is good, I'll take a shot.
Yeah, I will say his profile is it's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's good. I will say the one kind of wart on him is he never topped 1,000 yards receiving, which you can kind of it's difficult because especially this last year he didn't do it, and that includes the playoff game. So that was over 17 games, which is like, okay, how did he not do that in a pretty good offense for Indiana? It's crazy. And the other thing I saw today too, I was just looking at it, like the only times he went over 80 yards was against Indiana State, and 4 of his 13 touchdowns were in that game. So good Lord, he went over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns in that one game against a Division II school. That's a little concerning. Michigan State, who was a train wreck, and then Maryland, who was also really bad, right? And so like he put up a lot of big numbers against some bad teams.
Yeah.
Like there's some red flags with him too. And I always get a little nervous to some of the guys who are like, this is kind of like a nice like day 2 wide receiver, and then all of a sudden they just start like shooting up the draft board, and then they get into the first round, they might get overdrafted. Whereas like I still prefer Elijah Surratt, and I think I might be alone in that. But dude, I don't know. That's just a little something to watch. He should be competing at the combine, which is exciting. Makai Lemon, he's also competing, which is nice. He's gonna do drills. I think he will have a very nice gauntlet. Carnell Tate, from what I've looked up, he should be participating. It's really just, and actually Jeremiah Love is participating too, which I thought was interesting. Because usually some of the top players don't.
They leave it for their pro day.
Exactly, but so a lot of them are doing that. The only one I know that isn't, so Tyson, as we mentioned, and then Mendoza's not throwing, which is pretty common for quarterbacks not to throw and wait till their pro day.
Mm.
Um, a couple guys out of Washington that I think might not test very well: Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston. Um, Coleman is the one I have listed here. I think he's a thicker running back, kind of a bigger guy. I think he's a little bit more bursty than he is like fast. I don't think he's going to test well. In fact, so Underdog put out 40-yard dash projected times. When it first came out, it was projected at 4.5.
That
It
seems
has
super
since
fast,
gone up
bro.
to yeah, it has since gone up to 4.58. So I think
I think
the
he'll.
real ones know, and
Yeah,
it's kind
I
of
wouldn't be
projected a little bit.
surprised if he settles in at like 4.56, 4.55 at the best, right?
He
Like,
might pull Kyron Williams here, and
yeah,
just
I think he can be a good running back, but he's more of like a what's the best way to like he's just like a fill-in guy in my opinion. Like he's always been, I felt like, a little too high. I would
Mhm.
not take him as running back 3. And he could have had like the everything was there to have a really good year. The Men Williams was really good. Like was supposed to be really and so I just think
Mhm.
Washington wasn't great. And that whole offense was kind of flat. And I was thinking about like a Brian Robinson,
I think that's a
but I
step
just
too
don't think.
far. I think Brian
Yeah,
Robinson is even better. Like,
yeah, yeah.
the comp I
But
had
yes,
was Tank Bigsby,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
which
But yes, Wes, that is the guy I thought about, but I was like, nah, I'm not gonna, because I like Brian Robinson, and the thing I like about him, and what I've said many times, is the guy produces. I don't know if Jonah Coleman can produce, right?
I
Like,
think he might slip. He's been
yeah.
projected as like a day 2 guy. I think when all's said and done, he's gonna be a day 4, like a day 3, kind of 4th, 5th round guy.
hmm But I will say this: he is a guy that could pop out of nowhere if he lands on the right spot, and then if he kind
Mhm.
of plays better than we've seen. So he has that ability. I just haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, he's had nice his last year's tape was a lot better than this year. He kinda had a bit of a down year this year,
Yeah.
but like you said, like, depending on the situation, like, let's say just trying to look through some teams here, like, maybe he goes to maybe Denver doesn't sign a running back and he ends up there with, like, RJ Harvey. That could potentially be nice. If he ends up in a situation where like that, where maybe he ends up kinda getting a role and maybe the starter goes down or gets banged up for a few weeks, I think he'll have some nice, like, fill-in weeks. So he's a guy that I think I'd be more comfortable drafting at, like, the back of like, second round drafts,
Third,
or even, like, early third. The
which
class is kinda bad. He probably
yeah,
is gonna go in the second, but,
that's what I was just gonna say. Like, I don't think so. Like, I was just thinking in my head, this is like one year that I really don't want to have a draft before the NFL draft, because I'm going to really
yeah.
like
Oh, 100%.
think about the players once they land on a team. Like other years, I was like, there's like at least 10, 12 players that like I'm feel good about wherever they go. After the 5, I don't feel good about
There's
any of them, and I need to know where they go.
I have about a list of 10 guys that
Yeah.
I feel fairly confident are gonna get decent enough draft capital. I don't know if they're gonna end up in good spots, but I'm like, "Okay, those are the 10 I'll probably shoot for." After
Yeah.
that, like, I'm just like, "Dude, I might just
Yeah.
not." I don't know. Like, see if I can trade out of those picks.
I think it's only one league. It's one of Roy's that it's actually pretty fun to do it.
Mhm. It's
But
fun to do, but
yeah, like
this is not the best year to do it for
exactly,
sure.
exactly. But yeah, no, like for some reason Washington just was not good this year, and I know there's a lot of like people that like Denzel Boston. Where is he on Jeremiah's board?
He's like right below Jordan Tyson. They're
Yeah.
like back to
Okay.
back at like wide
Yeah,
receiver,
and
like or like 18, 19, somewhere in that range.
yeah, and so he plays really well. So I think he might end up being, being a little bit lower, and you might be able to get him back into the first if he lands on a really good team. Like I think Boston could be good. But again, there's a lot of question marks with both of Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston.
Dude, so Denzel Boston to me, like his profile was fine. He kind of and this maybe is like a lazy comp, but he feels a lot like Keon Coleman in the sense that like he's a big
Yeah,
body guy
I see that.
that can kind of do a lot of stuff, but like some of those guys don't translate well in the NFL, right? Like where they just kind of out physical guys in college, it's a lot easier to do than it is against um, NFL NFL defensive backs. And he struggled too against some of the better corners he played, which is also a red flag. It's not something you usually like to see.
All
Um,
right, I'm out on this guy. I
talk to you
pulled
out of
some.
it.
I pulled something up, and the first comp that showed that popped up was Puka. Get off my screen.
Interesting. I
That's
don't see that
insane.
at all.
No, that's insane.
That's a bold strategy.
But I mean, if he, like I said, if he lands on a great situation, like I might take a shot. And unfortunately, I think you're gonna have to probably get him in the end of the first. And to me, those
Honestly,
two things don't
probably go
don't
around
together.
108.
Yeah.
And it's like at that point too, you're kind of throwing darts. Like Denzel Boston, do you want to take KC Concepcion, which I think I would take ahead of
I'll
him?
take
Do you
it.
want to
Yeah.
take Jadarian Price, Eli Stowers? Do you want to take one of the two Indiana receivers? Like it gets maybe Ty Simpson if he goes in the first round, which I don't love
I mean,
that either.
I don't know
Like
if you put him on the show, but I will definitely be looking to see how he does. Right? I think he's throwing. But like
Simpson, yeah, he is.
Ty Simpson. I don't know what else we need to see though. Right? Is like I just think he's whatever. You know, like
I think like one thing that is gonna be in his favor. So like his dad is a longtime coach, so I think he's gonna do really well in like the team interviews at the combine that we're not gonna see. The problem is like, he's only played like honestly probably. He's only played 13 games, right?
Yeah.
Like he had the 1 year starting, and the year was very inconsistent. Like he played really bad against Florida State, and then he played really good for a stretch of like 5 weeks, and then he kind of went back down, kind of like DeShone Kizer. That hurts.
Dang. Yeah, I mean, makes sense.
Kizer at least played for like 2 years. I will say that. Like he at least started more games. But yes, I get that comparison. Actually, they're both fairly athletic, but not like burners. Yeah, I get that. I can see that's a good call. That's a good call.
Yeah, that's what
I hate
like,
it. That's a good call.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Wes always can have a good comp.
he does. Wes has a dude. If you guys ever want to see something special, you should see his immaculate grid scores. Dude's just an archive of football knowledge. One name, Cole Payton, quarterback from North Dakota State. I've already heard a bunch of buzz about him. He's super fast. If you like that kind of North Dakota State quarterbacks, whether it's Carson Wentz or Trey Lance, boy, do I got one for you here. Cole Payton, he's fast. I will say that.
Just the name alone, I'm like, I'm good. Next.
Yeah, dude, I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Wes's chat. Yeah, dude, I don't want anything to do with it. Speaking of Trey Lance, his younger brother is at the combine this year too. He's a wide receiver. So if you wanna dip back down in that well, you have an opportunity this year. So before we get out of here, just a couple things, right? Like, don't overreact to someone running a super fast 40 time. Also, if you like a player and maybe they don't test well, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to suck. Look at Kyron Williams, look at Bucky Irving as guys who didn't test well. Puka actually didn't test on that well either, other than the gauntlet. He didn't run that particularly fast, but he plays a lot better than that. It's not a death sentence if they don't test well. Trust the film and what you've seen watching them play. If you're an analytics person, you can watch the analytics. That's fine, but don't overreact to what you see at the combine. Pay attention to the things that matter. Did I miss anything, Holler? Do you have any parting thoughts?
No, just like you said, pay attention to the things that matter, right? Vertical jump, whatever it's called, that matters, right? You want to see how high the players can jump, right? The gauntlet, they're catching the ball, that matters. And going fast. So the things that matter, stick to it. But really, it's just one more piece of the puzzle, right? These are things that we got to remind ourselves, really. That's why we're saying it. But like, don't overthink these things, right? If the player's good, he will end up most likely being good. If the player, if there is any red flags, they're most likely going to continue with those red flags.
Yep. And the shuttle's a good drill too. If if they participate. Which that's the other thing too. Like some of these top guys, like they say they're gonna compete, and then all of a sudden they're just like they
End up
don't
not,
show
yeah.
up to run, and it's just like, well, that's kind of a bummer. But we shall see. We will be back next week. Not sure what we're gonna do for the show just quite yet, but we'll figure something out and maybe do some more prospect previews. Maybe we could actually, you know what? Maybe we could do a rookie mock draft after the post combine. That might be a nice, fun idea.
I'm in.
Perfect. So come back.
We'll
and
set
make sure
one
you
up.
watch
Let's
for
go.
that one. Join our Discord. It's free. Really good conversations. Good group of really good community there. Join the Patreon. It supports us. We really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the videos. Really appreciate that. And we will be back next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace out.